Good morning, everybody. Yesterday I had CAP session 48. So I've been on a retreat for 1 week. Was in the south of France in the retreat center Terra Nova. I'm gonna post videos about that later on. And it was yeah. So I came back. And yeah, I didn't plan on going to a CAP session, but it just came up. And as soon as it came up, yeah, I just went with my partner. So me and my partner, we were like wondering yesterday, what should we do? And I had seen the message for the session in the morning, but I didn't think like, oh, we're gonna go or I'm gonna go. And then yeah, in the afternoon, it's like, hey, maybe we should go, because she had like a train ticket left to go to Antwerp. So I was like, okay, let's go. So we went, and things were coming up. Some things were coming up, and then the session is with a level 2 CAP facilitator. Now, a level 2 CAP facilitator, besides doing the regular CAP session where you just lay down and you have your session, there's also a period where you sit opposite each other, facing each other. So my birthday is next week, or this week. This week's Thursday, 2nd of September. It's my birthday. And so I went with my partner, we came, and it was only about 6 people or so. So it was a small group, we were even. We had a small introduction, and then she explained how the session was gonna go. And what's funny is I asked her, I was like, hey, can I do the non-duality part, the second part of the session with my partner, like facing each other? She's like, oh, okay. And then, because me and my partner had an argument before that, all of a sudden, my partner, she was like after the explanation, like, do we have to do the non-duality part with who are sitting opposite, or can we choose? And I was like, what are you what are you doing? And I was like, can we do it together? And she was like, yeah, she was like kind of having I asked her like, you don't want to do it together? Like, don't you remember we went to ayahuasca together, we went to Bufu together, you don't want to do this together? I'm like, do you regret having those experiences together? I mean, because we went together. And she was like, no, I don't regret them. And yeah, it's funny, to see that dynamic. And I said can you do it for my birthday, just 2 of us together? And she's like, okay, it's fine. So we laid down on our mats, and then the session started. Now, I must say, since this CAP facilitator has come back from the level 2 training, her facilitation style has, in my own perception or my own experience, changed very, very subtly. Before, it was so fiery, so intense, so it was very and now she's just flowing. There's a lightness, there's a, even in the music that she uses, it's more open, more light, more, whereas before it was like, like a roller coaster. That is my own opinion, or my own opinion, of course. But yeah, it's really, really, interesting to just see that shift. And during this session, I was in a, yeah, how do I say this? I was in a certain kind of state of being. And I was really just there with the experience. So once the session started, very slight movements were happening. Singing was happening, like Elohim, Elohim, not very loud. And overall, this session was very calm, so calm for everybody. Afterwards, they said it was so calm, so calm. Usually, I move way more, but not this time. So that was interesting to just witness that. And this is a thing that's been happening quite often now. Sometimes when the facilitator comes around, and this happened with two other facilitators, all of a sudden, so when you're having the session, it's a very internal process in the sense that you go inwards, and whatever process is ongoing, you flow with it. You are embodying the process, and it's just unfolding, 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 unfolding. And you get impulses. Sometimes you get impulses to make sounds. Sometimes you get impulses to move. Sometimes you get impulses to release an emotion, or And the impulse that I was like, open my eyes. I don't know why, but open my eyes. I just, while she was like this close to me, just looking in her eyes, and just being. Oh, she's doing like this, and she's doing this, and she's doing all these kind of things. And sure, my body is, I guess, or my energy, there's like some movement, and it's very subtle. It's like there's shifts happening, there's movements happening, but it's just this clear eye gazing, or this like just looking. And when that happens, she smiles. I asked this another facilitator as well, does this happen often? And she's like, oh, it's my first time. And I had it with another facilitator as well. And the interesting thing is, like, every time the facilitator comes around, because the facilitator goes with each person for some moments, for a couple of minutes, a song, however long they stay, right? And every time that the facilitator came to me, or almost every time, there was just like, okay, open and connecting. Sometimes you're just like laying and the process is unfolding, and you feel when the facilitator comes near you, there's more, I guess, stimulation of movements, or there's more like you feel like, okay, there's an intensification of the energy, and there's an intensification of the movements that are happening, or the energetic rhythms, cycles that are happening. So all of a sudden, like, you may feel more like, okay, or a certain pressure, or a certain buildup of energy, or a certain stronger movement, or an emotion. Like sometimes when she puts her hands on you, like that feels in a very, like, it's not like a regular touch, because you feel the energetic effect of that touch. There's like energetically so much more happening. And my friend, he said it's like a divine touch. So it's like, yeah, it's really awesome to experience that. Yeah, they may touch you, like sometimes grab your feet, sometimes do something like this, sometimes do something like this, sometimes put it like this, like this. But my friend, I remember They were like putting a finger here, and he was like, ah. Yeah. Now, while this was happening, so my sessions now have become, I guess, more lighter. Like especially these last sessions, more lighter. I don't know. It's because if I'm in a certain state, but yeah, it's really like, hmm. For me, what I noticed is in the past, 6, 7, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, I would always be so eager to share what I had witnessed, what I had experienced, what my process revealed or unfolded into, or how it expressed itself. And talking about it, you can have certain opinions. You can recall it. You can recall and interact with, okay, this here and this here, and I felt this, and this was like this, and this was like that, and this was like this. But a very interesting thing that a facilitator said was like, their teacher, he said, what happens during this session is not really that important. You can forget about it, actually. What's really important is how your life, how when you go back into your life, what changes happen there? What effects do you notice there? What new choices do you make? All the integration process. Because all of that's, you can leave it. It's nice, you can welcome it, you can be grateful for it, all of that. Like I'm saying this now. But I heard this a couple of times, like just leave it here for you. It's really not that important, because it's all about the energetic alignment or upgrade that you get, and that the energy then well helps you to integrate some aspect of your life during the days and the weeks afterwards. Yeah, and in the beginning, in the sessions, it was for me like, it was almost like playing video games. It was having this kind of level and this kind of level and this kind of, so exciting, so adventurous, so much full new experiences, mystical experiences. And I was sharing, and I always wanted to share. Like honestly, when I was sharing, it could take really long time to share. It was almost like a movie always. And a facilitator told me, I remember, like when you say these kind of things, all of that, some people may get discouraged because they may have only experienced very small things, very subtle things. Some might have experienced a lot as well. But like, if you always like share like these big stories, these big things, people may get discouraged because they may think, oh, he had that, I didn't have that, so that must mean mine was not as successful, or it didn't work as well, or that kind of thing. So there might be a disappointment, like, oh, it doesn't work for me, that. So yeah, something like that. So as time went on, sometimes I would become aware of this and share the essence, share the bigger parts. Whereas before I would share as much as possible. And yesterday was one of those sessions where, after the session, when I just sat there and everybody was sharing, I just felt in my heart. I felt peace and quiet stillness. And I didn't feel like I needed to share or say anything. From my mind, I could say so much. This happened, that happened, I felt this, I felt that, I saw this, I saw that, I didn't see this, there was this impression, all that kind of thing. That's interesting to witness. So the session itself, like during the session, that was funny because once the facilitator like came to me and we had eye contact, I was my eyes open, and she went away, closed my eyes, my process continued, there were movements, energetic cycles, rhythms, and sometimes I'd open my eyes and I would see like, oh, the facilitator, she doesn't come that close anymore. She would be on a distance, and there would be like thoughts coming up like, oh, she's keeping her distance, or she's not coming around anymore. She avoiding this. I didn't have that thought, but there was a thought of like she's coming around with everybody and she's skipping me or what, something like that kind of thing. But at one moment I opened my eyes and she was just like from small distance. There was still a process. Sometimes she would get behind me, do this, and things were being felt. Like there were feelings. There were moments in the session where you just look. And you know when you look and you focus on something, you focus, for instance, on the hand. There was like this coming out of focus and just like there was this sense of beingness, of almost just experiencing. And in those moments when that happens, you don't really think, you're just there, you just, and there were images there. There were certain images that were occurring. Sometimes there were certain thoughts or impressions. At one point during the session, there was a moment, very specific moment, where there was a cycle, a movement of energy that was completed, and just saw, or the knowing came, like a thought or a knowing, like you are, a certain knowing came. That was interesting. And then there were also moments where, you know, in your life you always have like these options, these decisions. Should I do this or should I do that? I have 1K. Should I do this training or that training? Should I do this? Should I go there? Should I all that kind of thing. And here it was like like this, and you feel like this, this, this. So it was like making clear for myself. Like it became clear. It became obvious. It became obvious because it was like a tuning for it. Like, ding, yes, no, yes, no. So that was good to confirm because when you don't really know what you're supposed to do, you can know what do you want. What do I want? What do I really want? Maybe you can, but for me, I guess, you can always get like this, these messages from the universe, or these messages from, like these signs, like things that keep coming back, popping up. You just keep noticing them. And it's almost like, I don't want to say warning you, but it's like giving you signs like something here is developing or going on, or it's just, you don't know it yet, but there's there, there's an unfoldment there that's gonna happen. Or rather, I don't know, maybe it's just your subconscious that already sees things, and it's just like guiding your attention towards certain things to just make you more aware of it. Like all of a sudden, because all the day we see so many things, but we see in a way selectively, right? Like we have filters. Some things we really take in, and other things they just passes by because there's not an internal belief or value attached to it. So some moments may pass like really like and you forget it. But some moments they like yeah. So then, like after all that happened, we had the session. So she asked us, this was really beautiful. She asked us to sit all together, and she gave us a cacao bean with honey. Now, she was talking about the new moon and how there's like the sowing and reaping. So it's like there's a seed. She asked us, can you write an intention that you want to like almost plant like a seed? And she placed the cacao here. So sweet. Everybody ate. And then she put on the music. We were sitting opposite each other, facing our partners. My partner, when Stan was like, "Do you want to do it?" It's like, "Yeah. Let's do it." Like, okay. So the facilitator asked everybody close their eyes and just intuitively or allow yourself to go to the place where you feel like you want to be, or you want to have the experience, or you want to stand. She stayed. I stayed. So we opened our eyes. Yeah. So as soon as the music started, it's really interesting to do this with your partner, to witness that. When the session started, like if you have a bottle and you look at it, some moments your sight, if you look at one thing really long, may become like, you might start to see like, it's almost like you go into a trance where you see like subtleties, or things shift, or there's like small changes. And I've experienced this before with, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I remember when I was often sitting at a yacht, at a haven, and there was this water, and just looking at the water, and just if you stare at it, it would just like, yeah, the way you started to perceive it, like the sky and the water, everything. It was like, it's very interesting to to see that, to experience that, how that shifts. So with the partner, you're supposed to look from the left eye into the person's left eye, like this, or like this, from the right to the right. So it started, and as the facilitator came, we were just staring at each other, staring. And there are moments where you feel that it's impersonal. It's not really personal, that there's just there. And my partner's face was like, really like this, like, she was so still, not blinking, or blinking very little. And yeah, connecting with that, there were certain thoughts, certain impressions that came like, I wish you all the best. I only wish love for you. Here we are. We've been through so much. I never wanted to hurt you, all that kind of thing. And then also there was an impression that I got that came, was like the way I perceived her, some kind of way. And she also told me, like, when she was looking at me, the way she was perceiving me, she said, you have this boyish thing, like a small child, very soft, like very like childish, boyish thing. And I also had a sense, when looking at her, there's certain, like, I guess, qualities of, or the way the person is setting them up towards certain things. You see certain things, or I don't know if that's really seen or the mind gives meaning to that, but it's a very curious, interesting experience. Now, at some moments, I started to feel the impulse to have movement. So I was rocking back and forth, moving a bit. My hands were like touching. Then the facilitator said, don't touch. Afterwards, she said, if you start to touch, then it's a different kind of exercise. So no touching. But my hands were then like, just, I guess, feeling her energy or something, or like this. She smiled. Yeah, being in that connection together is really fun. Just to share that experience together. We've never looked so long in each other's eyes, so intensely. We had moments before where there was sharing love and all kinds of experiences, but like this, it's very, very intense to witness that. And she also shared her experience, and she told about while she was looking at me, she saw like there were almost like masks falling off, and like looking at the eye, she just saw the eye, and it's like, well, it's almost like an animal eye. And she was like, yeah, she had also a really, really interesting experience. Other people also, for them, they they told like, this is like so unusual because usually we don't do things like this, like just stare at each other. And the facilitator said it's like in this exercise, the other person is your mirror. So you're looking in your mirror. I wonder what, like, if you do cap level 1, if you do those sessions, you know, there are certain effects of the session, in a sense, like shifts and integration periods and all that. Like, I've made videos about this. But I wonder, like, doing like the non-duality, the staring in each other's eye, what long-term effect, or what does it do to have those experiences, or what does it open, or what does it reveal or integrate? I wonder. I never asked that. I really wonder. But afterwards, my partner everybody was leaving, and I was getting ready, and then we talked, and I was talking, and there was another person who came, and she was holding cacao ceremonies, and she talked about her experiences. She did 4 years of ayahuasca almost every week. 4 years of ayahuasca almost every week. Of course, there were times when it was skipped, and not every week, of course. But she said every week, 4 years, and of course, there were also sessions skipped. And she's now guiding people in Belgium, maybe our place as well, to do plant ceremonies. Yeah, very interesting to meet her, to sense her. She was singing for us. It's very beautiful. I asked her, did you do 5-MeO-DMT before various? She said, yeah, one time. I asked, why don't you facilitate that? Apparently the facilitator also had done 5-MeO-DMT one time in Mexico. That's interesting. I also asked, like, what do you think is the difference between, like, have you done a cap session? She said she has done one cap session. What do you think is like the difference between doing ayahuasca sessions and a cap session? I asked, like, when you go to ayahuasca, do you just go and you just surrender, or do you go with a theme, with an intention? She said you work with intentions, and the intentions change. So yeah, very interesting to meet her. Very pleasant. She was singing for us. Very very beautiful songs. It's like like, yeah, it's really nice. And afterwards, where everybody was leaving, we talked a little bit, and I mentioned, like, I came back from the pranic retreat, and she was like, oh, what's that? Yeah, where you go on a retreat to reprogram your cells, the cells in your body, to live off prana. And she's like, oh, that's where we got to go next. We got to do that as well. She said something like, we're going to do that as well. And I was like, because you already fast, don't you? And she was like, yeah, because I talked with her before, and she told me how she was already fasting, and she shared an experience about exchanging prana with somebody, like giving and receiving prana. And she's like, it felt like she had eaten. So very interesting to connect, to share that. My partner was waiting. She's calling me. I'm like talking. My partner is like, hey, come on, are you coming or not? Come down. And she was a bit upset because she she had to work today. So on the way home, we talked and talked, connected, quieted down. You know, it's so funny how the way back home on a trip, going somewhere, always feels, not always, but always like different than when coming back home. When you go back home, it goes by so much faster. I mean, it's funny to witness that. Not always, of course, but it just was like this. But honestly, yeah, going there was also very fast. But in the train, we connected, we talked. It's really great to do this with your partner, to do sessions, because there are certain themes, certain emotions that are then like coming up, and whatever was like building up or stagnant, it's given space to come up, and you can talk and you can process and connect, and yeah. I'm really grateful that I have a partner with whom I can share experiences like this, and yeah, life experiences in general. So much fun to see each other grow, change. Yeah. Hmm. I think I said everything I wanted to say, or everything that I wanted to flow. So, yeah, thank you so much. This was CAP session 48. Really beautiful experience. Really beautiful to do this with my partner. It's really fun.